In 2011, he enrolled in the Virginia Commonwealth University Master of Social Work program, graduating in 2014. He is the author of Nelson Beats the Odds, a graphic novel about an African-American special education student who struggles to hire his parents and teachers, help him overcome his challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, I now give you Mr. Ronnie Sidney II.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And when I walked in, I see several parents of these wonderful, beautiful graduates. I'll give them a hand. And when I seen the parents, that's when I really started to feel old, because the kids I went to school with had kids that's going to high school. So it definitely makes me feel a little old, but I'm definitely honored and thankful for Ms. Toby and Mr. Desperto for inviting me here today and giving me the opportunity to speak to the graduating class of 2015. If I went back in the past and I seen my younger self and told him that I'd be speaking at a commencement for 8th graders, he'd probably cuss me out and then call me a liar. So for me to actually be in this position, it really means a lot. It shows a lot of growth, and it's definitely a dedication to my father who's here and to the many wonderful teachers that I had. So today, when I'm during my speech, I want to talk about a word that some of you all may be familiar with if you've heard of Kwanzaa. It's called Kujichagulia. So I want you all to say Kujichagulia. Kujichagulia, it is a funny sounding word, and the word is Swahili, and it means self-determination. So today I want to talk about self-determination. And when I talk about Kujichagulia is to define ourselves, to name ourselves, create for ourselves, and to speak for ourselves. And naming is very important, because naming is how we identify ourselves and how we identify others. When it comes to naming and defining ourselves, revolutionary writer Frantz Fanon said that each person must ask him or herself 3 important questions. The first question is, who am I? The second question is, am I really who I say I am? And the third question is, am I all that I ought to be? Many of you 8th graders are just starting to figure out who you are today, while some of you may be just starting to smell your pee just a little bit. Adolescence is a difficult transition for kids, because kids are in between being a kid and being an adult. So it can be very confusing for them. When I was your age, the age of 8th graders, I had to ask myself those many questions. I spent 7 years in special education, and there was a time when I didn't know who I was. I was diagnosed as learning disabled and with ADHD. But to me, I knew that those were just labels. When I was in school in 8th grade, when I was in school, 8th grade was in the high school. So in 7th grade, we did our schedule. I'm not sure if they do that now, where the guidance counselor from the high school comes over and meets with the whole grade, and you all work on your schedules. So y'all did that? Cool. So when I did my schedule, I was in special education, and Miss Toby was my teacher in 6th and 7th grade. So when I got to high school, I was determined not to be in special education. Oh. But, and my man right there, he cheering for me, so that's what's up. But when I was in 7th grade doing my schedule, what had happened was that I had my friends Sean, Chris, and Milton, and we all did our schedule. So I signed up for Algebra 1, English 8-1, and Spanish 1, because I was convinced that I was going to take the same classes with them. And when I got my schedule in the mail in the summer, I had those classes on it, so I'm like, good, we good to go. And I called my friends, and we had 3-way back in the day, so you can have like 3 or 4 people on the phone. So we all asking each other what classes you got. We all in the same class, so I'm excited. So the first day of school, which I know is a tradition there, your mom and your dad go out there and get you this nice outfit. So I had this very fresh first day outfit, some Jordans, feeling real good about myself. So we get in class together, everything is good. I get in Algebra 1, and I get a call to the office. And I'm like, yo, it's the first day of school. There's no way I'm in trouble already. So I go down to the office, I sit down, the guidance counselor talks to me, and she hands me a new schedule. And on this new schedule is special education English, special education math, and the 2 other special education classes. Pretty much my whole day was going to be in the special education room, and I was hurt. And I talked to my dad. I said, Dad, how was it when I came home that day? He said, you cried like a baby. And I remember just being so hurt and disappointed that I was taken out of the classroom with my friends and placed in special education, a place where I didn't want to be. So my dad went up to the school, talked to the guidance counselor, and got my schedule changed. So then I was back in the regular classes. But I wasn't back in classes with my friends. So instead of me taking algebra, I was in pre-algebra. And pre-algebra, I wasn't the most well-behaved student in school. In pre-algebra class, we had a lot of kids in there that misbehaved, so we all kind of got in trouble together. And I will never forget this. My pre-algebra teacher told the whole class, because we were just acting up, goofing off. He told the whole class that none of you all are going to college. And then we all looked at each other like, what? Did the teacher just say that? And it was during that time and at that day that I had to define who I was. And I had to know who I was. I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew I was smart. And that day, and at that moment, I dedicated myself to do that. Chinua Achebe, the author of Things Fall Apart, said, if you don't like someone's story, write your own. If someone says that you're not going to college, or that you're just going to end up dead or in jail before you're 18, you prove them wrong. You don't tell them they're wrong, you prove them they're wrong. If someone is saying that you're going to end up pregnant before you're 16, you prove them wrong. I refuse to let anyone write my story except for me. I knew my potential, and so did my parents and my teachers, like Miss Toby and Miss Dockery. Those teachers remind me of a teacher in New York named Miss Lopez. A student of hers was featured on the Humans of New York Facebook page. The photographer asked a student, who's influenced you most in your life? And the young man said, my principal, Miss Lopez. So the photographer became curious and asked him, how has she influenced you? The student's reply was, when we get in trouble, she doesn't suspend us. She calls us to her office and explains to us how society was built down around us. And she tells us that each time somebody fails out of school, a new jail cell is being built. And one time she made every student stand up, one at a time, and she told each one of them that they mattered. Miss Lopez embodies the principles of Kujichagulia. She understands that her children don't come from the best environments, but that doesn't mean they can't have the best outcomes and become the best students and citizens that they can be. Miss Lopez champions her students. She calls them scholars. She requires her students and staff to wear purple, because purple is the color of royalty. When students get called into her office, she tells them that they come from a royal lineage, dating back to great African kings and queens. She tells them that they belong to a group of individuals who discovered astronomy and math. She wants her children to know that they can be expected to succeed and not fail. Parents, grandparents, teachers, administrators, we need to be Miss Lopez to our kids. They need us to support their dreams and to help them write their own story. They need us to champion them, to build up their confidence, their self-worth, and self-esteem. I am where I am today because I had parents and teachers who were able to do that. So, So 8th graders, no matter where you come from or what you go through, you can be whatever you want to be. But there's one caveat to that. You have to work for it. Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers studied successful men like Bill Gates and others, and he wanted to find a secret to their success. What he found was that each of them spent at least 10,000 hours or more practicing their craft. That means that if you want to be the next LeBron James or Beyonce, you need to put in 20 hours a week for 10 years. Can y'all do that? 20 hours a week for 10 years? I'm sure some of y'all put 20 hours a week on them video games, outside playing basketball, playing football. So I know if you can do it for a couple more years, y'all will be great. So if you want to be a doctor, hairstylist, nurse, 20 hours a week and you're mastering your craft. But I'm no fool. I understand that the playing field is not always even for every student. Some of you all face tremendous adversity and difficulties on a daily basis. In David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants, Malcolm Gladwell explores the notion of desirable difficulties. Gladwell studied a small number of entrepreneurs worth billions of dollars who were diagnosed with dyslexia and individuals who had lost a parent during childhood. He found that they all succeeded not in spite of the disability of loss of a parent, but because of it. Those individuals used disadvantages as advantages, just like trees planted in dry lands. In the rainforest, water is abundant. Water is abundant, so the trees there don't extend their root system deep into the ground. But in dry lands, the tree's roots extend hundreds of feet into the ground. So when there's a strong storm like hurricane winds, those trees stay, while the trees in the rainforest are knocked over just by small breezes. So what I'm saying to you all today is, it's the struggle that makes you strong. Use your struggles as your strength and overcome the odds. So I want the class of 2015 to stand for me. Don't they look great, guys?
Yes, yeah.
So like Ms. Lopez, I want to tell each and every one of you that your lives matter. I also want to tell you, don't be good, be great. Don't be your role models, be better than your role models. Anticipate people, who I like to call fortune tellers, tell you what you can't do and what you can do. When they come at you like that, just remember one word, Kujichagulia. The only person that can dictate what you can and can't be is who? Is who?
Yourself.
Exactly, it's yourself. You are the writer of your own story, not anyone else. Distance yourself. Now listen carefully here. Distance yourself from people who don't have your best interests in mind. And keep friends, family, teachers, coaches, and whatever faith you have around to support you and champion you. And lastly, keep asking yourself those three questions. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? You ought to be seated. So before I sit down, I do want to plug my graphic novel real quick. And this graphic novel is based on my experience in school, and I include several, one teacher, and also some classmates of mine that have passed away I graduated in 2001, so people have died since 2000 when I went to school with, and I'm dedicating the book to them. But I'm also dedicated to the school and to my hometown, Tappahannock. So if you all can support the book, you can Google it, Nelson Beats the Odds, and find the website. And also, is Ms. Dockery here? Oh, she's over there. Okay. Ms. Dockery was unable to come to a teacher appreciation program that I had, but I did want to honor her today because she was one of my champions when I was in school and when I was your age. And Ms. Dockery, if you don't mind just coming up here in my closing, and I wanted to honor her. And guys, remember this. You're going to have some great teachers if you haven't already had some in your life. A lot of times teachers don't get honored for whatever reason, but if you have a great teacher that have helped you succeed and helped you overcome challenges, it is your obligation to honor them. So Ms. Dockery, thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for your support, putting me in leadership positions, for championing me and helping me become the man I am today. And I do have a small gift for you.